Welcome back, everybody. Yay. Hope you all had a good break and everything. So,
I'm exhausted. I ran a marathon during the break. Didn't really run a marathon. I used to,
oh,
you know what, I'll tell you how you know you're in shape or getting in shape
mhm,
is when you don't get exhausted doing little stuff like
mhm.
picking up groceries
Right.
or walking upstairs.
Yeah.
Sometimes it gets to a point where you do get exhausted doing that.
Yeah.
But when I was a kid, I was always exhausted.
Yeah.
And then I, started exercising, and things
Yeah.
don't really tire me out as
Yeah.
bad now. But I did you ever you remember gym class?
Yes.
Wasn't
Yes.
that awful?
We had to walk all the way around in the beginning to warm up.
Yeah. And
That's what I used to do in high school.
did you have to
So,
do the exercises?
oh yeah, push
Yeah.
ups, jumping jacks, everything.
Yeah. Well, yeah, jumping jacks, I still do jumping jacks. Everyone, and I've never gotten exhausted doing them. I
Right.
can still do them.
Yeah. So could I? I mean, I could still do them.
But I was in the presidential something presidential some nonsense in the 70s and what in 1970s, and what happened was they wanted kids to get in shape because actually kids were in better shape then than they
Yeah.
are now. We didn't have video games and fast food.
Yeah.
And so what happened was we had to do something like 100 sit-ups, and as and it was exhausting for me, and I still got a certificate of participation. My
Mhm.
younger sister got a certificate of achievement for her age and gender, uh, and I couldn't believe I'm in better shape than her, and I don't know how she got that and I didn't. But I'm still sore about it.
Yeah.
But anyway, you had to do 100 sit-ups. You had to do pull-ups,
Wow.
which I still can't do.
Yeah.
I'm 40 years old now, and I still can't do pull-ups. Push-ups are kind of weird. If you kind of do them, people tend to give you credit for it because no one really knows how to do push-ups. I can't do the ones with my fingertips.
Yeah.
And I and I can't do the ones. Well, I tried doing it where you clap your hands in the
Yeah.
middle of them.
Yeah.
Um, Sit-ups, I did all of a sudden. Now there was something. This is what I want to tell you. There was something called the 600-yard run, walk, or dash, or whatever it's called. The
Yeah.
50-yard dash wasn't
Yes.
too hard because, and I think I did all right at that. Usually if you did 8 to 9 seconds, you did fine.
Mhm.
That's what I got. Some people got really like 6 seconds.
Right. Right.
So there was this 600 uh, yard walk run, which was, I think it was like a little less than 2 laps around a football field. And it was exhausting.
Oh.
And I was huffing and puffing and everything, and it was the part of it, believe it or not, I dreaded the most. And now I don't dread that. I wish I could do it now. I'd probably be the best I'd probably be the best 10-year-old.
Right.
I could beat most 10-year-olds doing this.
Yeah. Yeah.
But one thing I really hated gym class. For one thing, I didn't like. I was talking to somebody. I said I didn't like that costume they made you wear. What the heck was that all
It
about?
was
Wearing that costume. And so somebody said, some older guy was listening. Goes, it was not a costume. It was a T-shirt and short pants.
a gym
It was
suit.
a gym suit.
I used to wear those when I was in
And it
middle
was
school and high school.
it was the most shapeless looking clothes. It's clothes I would never wear now. You see how what
Yeah.
how I'm dressed.
Yes.
See that I couldn't do my exercise in this
Yes.
exactly.
Yes. Exactly. Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
by the way, I
Exactly.
got this nice tie.
Yeah.
Speaking of clothes, and it has Woody Woodpecker on
Oh, I love
it. As
that.
this is the end of the year, and so this is like my New Year's tie, and
Yeah.
they're all having a good time on it. And it has the penguin and Andy Panda and the buzzard, Buzz the buzzard and the dragon, and I don't know who. I didn't even know Woody Woodpecker had a girlfriend, but that's his girlfriend. But
Oh.
Woody Woodpecker, and I always think of Woody Woodpecker as like he's like Bugs Bunny. He shouldn't have a girl. He should just be
I
free and
love Woody
easy.
Woodpecker.
Oh, Woody Woodpecker. I just love Woody Woodpecker. I was on another show talking about Woody Woodpecker, and no, I was talking about Bugs Bunny and Woody Woodpecker. And I said Woody Woodpecker is like Bugs Bunny, except Woody Woodpecker is kind of psychotic.
Yeah, yeah.
He's kind of hysterical.
Yeah. Da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, ha 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 ha.
I guess beating his head against the
Yes.
against the wood all the time, and that voice is Bugs Bunny. Is kind of cool.
Right.
But I think Bugs Bunny, if he ever met Woody Woodpecker, says, "Hey, get me away from this guy. He's crazy. He's crazier than Elmer Fudd." Yeah. Yeah, but so yeah, but Woody Woodpecker is. In fact, if you really want an insaniac, you watch Woody Woodpecker.
Yeah.
So happy New Year to you.
Yes, Happy New
Yeah.
Year.
Hey, and we're talking about movie. We went to the movies a couple weeks ago, and we
Yes.
saw the new West Side Story.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah, wasn't that something?
That's a good one.
Yeah, we love
It's no different than
musicals.
the old one, so.
It's no different.
Except they have done a few things to like switch the scenes.
Hmm.
Yeah, there were some scenes that were supposed to be in the like toward the beginning,
Yeah,
but instead they showed them toward the end.
yeah, but the plot is the same.
Yeah, the plot's the same, but
Nothing really. If you hadn't seen, in fact, if you've seen one of them, you've seen the other one, sort of.
yeah,
It's and or the stage play,
right.
and the original. Um, okay, the original, none of except for Rita Moreno, none of the actors were Hispanic. They were all American. I think one guy was Greek. It was Natalie Wood, who was a Russian American.
Yes, yes.
I mean, of descent.
Yeah,
But there was no Latinos, and in this movie they made sure that all the characters were Latino.
yeah,
Yeah. And then what else? Oh, I'll tell you what was weird. It takes place in the late 1950s,
yes,
around the time it was like the modern day when the first movie was made, and they
yeah,
made this one. I thought they were going to update it to the present day,
yeah. I thought that
and
too.
just maybe use the same songs, maybe
Yeah,
new
yeah,
new
yeah,
rock and roll versions of the new songs,
yes,
or hipper versions. But no, it was in fact Steven Spielberg who made it. He actually told his production that he wanted it exactly like the old one. The
yeah,
same lighting, the same sort of the choreography would be a pointed departure. It might change the choreography a bit, but the choreography is pretty much the same. The plot is pretty much the same. There was um, Stephen Sondheim wrote the lyrics. He
yes,
just died like a month before the movie came out.
yeah,
He supposedly he did see the movie before it came out, and he was very happy with it and said it was better than the first one. Which he didn't like a lot of things that happened in the first one. Like you said, the juxtaposition of um, of uh, of songs. Like there was a song called "Be Cool, Baby." That is
that'll be cool.
yeah, that was put near the first half of the movie, while it usually shows up at the end of the first movie. Of course, there's a terrible scene where there's a few people die, a rumble scene, and this is like a tragic thing that happens, and it puts the movie in a whole new thing after that. All the characters change, and right after that, they do. I think they took their time in the first one. This one, they just right away have the women all singing. What's the song they sing?
I feel pretty, oh so pretty, I'm so pretty and bright.
Yeah, and
I feel pretty.
yes. So you assume that um, it's a weird song to play right after all this violence and
Yes,
death,
I know.
because the characters singing that don't know that their friends have died. So
Right.
so um, so Stephen Sondheim actually said to the director, Mr. Spielberg said, "I think if I were you, I'd take that I Feel Pretty song out of the movie." And he said, why? He goes, I think he had the same fight with Leonard Bernstein, who wrote the music, and the guy who wrote it, Arthur Lawrence. They felt it was too weird to have all this violence and this kind of frothy little song after it. It would have been fine earlier in the film, but I think no, that's the point. They have to be kind of blissfully unaware what's going on, and but they have it in there, and it's actually a good scene. It's just kind of weird to see after the scene of violence,
Yeah.
that scene, and And what's weird is "I Feel Pretty" is one of the most famous songs from that
Yeah,
movie,
yeah.
from that stage show. Also, and I don't know if I'm giving anything away. It's based on Romeo and Juliet, and Romeo and Juliet has a very sad ending. This has a very sad ending. There's a movie. There's lots of versions of Romeo and Juliet. There's lots of stage versions.
Hmm.
Maybe your high school might put on West Side Story
Yeah.
or Romeo and Juliet. There's movies about both. There's two West Side Story movies. Let me tell you something. I'm a sucker for this. Every time I see West Side Story or Romeo and Juliet, I always think at the near as it gets closer to the end, this will be the version with a happy ending,
Yeah.
and it's not.
Yeah.
It's it's just as sad as when you saw it the first time, you know. And you almost have to like don't even want to get out of your seat. You just want to brood over the
Right.
credits
Right. Right.
before you go back to your car and
Yeah.
eat your popcorn or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I yeah, so but so you know, it's gotten a lot of good reviews and it might win Best Picture again.
Yeah.
I don't think it will, but it was well done
Yes, I
and it
thought it
was
was well
great.
done too. So.
Yes, and except for Rita Moreno, I didn't know any of the other actors in the film.
Yeah.
They're all going to become big stars now
Oh
that
yeah.
they, you know.
Yeah.
But there's the earlier West Side Story has the West Side Story curse, where none of the stars in the movie, even though a few of them won Oscars, uh, they didn't really go on to bigger things.
Yeah.
George Chakiris, Russ Tamblyn, Richard Beymer, and of course Natalie Wood continued her career. She was actually
Yeah.
dubbed in the movie,
Yeah.
but a lot of those people in the first one were dubbed.
Yeah.
This one, I think they actually are singing, which is great.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And what are your favorite movies?
My favorite movies are Sound of Music,
Hmm.
um, Moulin Rouge,
Oh yeah,
and there's another movie I told you about.
you have a lot. You have a lot of favorites like me.
Yeah, I have a lot of favorites.
I like every movie I see.
Me too.
I find there's something good to see in every movie I see.
Yeah.
There's something worthwhile, unless it's truly a trashy film.
Right.
Like I don't really like horror movies very much. I mean,
Yeah.
just the ones that just kept
I
killing.
used to like them many years ago
Yeah,
because my mom used to like
the
them,
horror movies.
but I don't get into them as much anymore as I did.
Well, there are horror movies that are.
I like suspense though. I mean,
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. There are horror movies
yeah,
that are done well. Not really, I
right.
wouldn't call them horror, but usually suspense, like Alfred Hitchcock movies.
Yeah, I like Alfred Hitchcock. Yeah.
Movies based on, or even the books
Mm.
of Agatha Christie
Right.
and stuff, and
Right.
even and detective stories and stuff
Hmm.
that might have a little violence in them. But the ones that are just somewhere summer camp and there's how many people can die is
Some of
that's not really entertainment to me.
some of them are like some of them are like the same thing.
Yeah, that's all it is.
It's
Yeah,
like just like if you watch a teenage movie,
yeah.
it's the same thing. The girl breaks up with the guy breaks up with the girl, and they all get mad at each other. It's like all it is, you know.
You talking about the love story or a horror story
I'm talking about
or
like
both?
kind of both. Like if you watch a movie, a teenager
Yeah,
movie, like teenage movies like what's
Friday the 13th
yeah,
or
some of them,
Halloween.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not too crazy about it. I think like when I was a teenager, I saw them. But then somebody told me that if you buy tickets to these movies and you still don't like them and you're still going to the sequels and everything,
Yeah,
you're basically telling Hollywood, this is my vote of a movie I want to continue seeing. And they'll keep making them.
yeah, but
While
some
if you see something with quality,
yeah,
then and they say, well, that movie didn't wasn't a hit because it didn't click with the teenagers or didn't click with
right,
the dumb people. And then I always say, well, that's sad because that was what they should be watching.
yeah, yeah.
There's if you want to know the good movies,
Mhm.
there's something if you like DVDs and stuff called the Criterion Collection. There's even a channel I think on the internet, the Criterion channel. You have to pay for it, and it'll show you all these movies, the foreign films, quality American films, and everything. And then every year they come out with maybe 10 I mean old. Their movies have already stood the test of time that they're classics, and they try to they try to preserve them
Yeah.
with the best quality sound and picture, and they'll have interviews with the
Yeah.
former cast members if they're still around and stuff, and they'll have all the what do you call it the uh, the soundtrack where the commentary
Yes.
that you could push and you could hear what the director, if he's still around, or a scholar would say about the movie.
Yeah.
And there's if you go to Barnes and Noble, they actually have just a section of these movies,
Yeah.
and they're very expensive. They're like $30 or $40 each at this
Wow.
point. But then I think a lot of times, like during the Christmas season and stuff, they were half price. So I bought a couple of them. You want to see them?
Yeah.
Want to see them?
Yeah.
Now, these are my favorite movies.
Yeah.
And I thought if I'm going to get my favorite movies, I should get the best version of my favorite movies.
Yes.
So I got them. And this is the first movie I ever saw. It's a mad, 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 mad world. And this is the Criterion Collection.
Oh wow.
And you've probably seen it on television and everything. And it's a great movie. Has a cast of everybody, every comedian up in 1962. I think it was made, but it came out in 1963, and it was great, and it's a wonderful film. But it was like over 3 hours long, and then it was too long for the. It was in Cinerama, like CinemaScope or
Mhm.
something. Panavision, really big screen. So they wanted to cut it. So they cut it to about 2.5 hours and took all the stuff. Well, they found not all of it. A lot of it is lost, but they found as much to fill in, I guess, almost 3 hours of the film
Mhm.
with soundtracks and scenes off the cutting room floor and stuff. Sid Caesar, Milton Berle, Spencer Tracy is in it. Everyone is. The Three
Oh yeah.
Stooges
I
are
love
in it.
all of them.
Yeah, they're all.
Yeah.
And Jerry Lewis has a small part. Jack
Um.
Benny has a
Oh
small part. Don
wow.
Knotts is in it.
Wow.
It seems like everyone is in this movie.
Yeah.
In fact, if I were a comedian in 1962 and I
Mhm.
did not get invited to be in this movie, I would have felt left out.
I would have been upset. Oh yeah. I would have been really upset
This
because.
this really is an epic film, and
Yeah.
it's a lot of car chases. It got a one Oscar, I think, for best sound effects, because the sound effects are great, but some of the stunts in it are hard to believe. I'm sure you. I don't want to go on and on about this movie, but it's the first movie I ever saw in a movie theater, and believe it or not, it might still be the best movie I ever saw. But it's a mad, 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 mad world.
Yeah.
Okay, well, tell me about what you like, The Sound of Music.
Yeah. The Sound of Music. It was on last week.
Hmm.
It was before Christmas, and I
Hmm.
really enjoyed seeing it again. So, and what I like about the movie is all the children.
All the
All the
children's part.
children were singing and being cute and everything.
I remember Angela Cartwright is in it from the
Yeah,
Danny Thomas show.
yeah,
Yeah.
and she has a sister named Veronica Cartwright.
Yeah, she's not in it,
Yeah, she's not, in it, but
but
she was she
she's
was
in it.
on the Birds
Yeah.
though. You know.
She was in The Birds. Yeah.
Yes, she was on.
Veronica Cartwright.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
She's in also the movie Alien
yes,
and in the movie Witches of Eastwick. Yeah.
yes,
But the Angela Cartwright you don't see so much anymore. But she was on Lost in Space, and
yes,
but she's the little one of the little girls in the Von Trapp family.
yeah.
Yeah, I was in a shortened version of Sound of Music,
Oh yeah.
and
I would love to be the
and I
Sound of
got to
Music.
play Baron von Trapp.
Wow.
You want to hear something funny about that
Yeah.
the show I was in? Um, I played Baron von Trapp, played of course famously by Christopher Plummer. So I thought I was too young to have all those kids,
Hmm.
and a lot of the kids were like late teens and stuff in the play I was in.
Hmm.
And then I wasn't too old, but I thought it was kind of weird that I was playing this father of like 5 kids or something, 7 kids. I don't know how many kids.
There were 7.
There were 7 kids. Okay, it's a true story too. And so then I crunched the numbers. I found out that when Christopher Plummer played the part, he was like in his late 30s or something. I was older than that. I was older than Christopher Plummer. I was thinking Christopher Plummer's an old man.
Wow.
But I played Atticus Finch, and I thought Gregory Peck is an old man. I crunched the numbers, and I found out I was older than Gregory Peck was when he played the part. So I'm not too young to play this. But yeah, I played Barrett, and I got to sing Edelweiss. Yeah.
Bless my homeland forever.
Yes. all the music is so good in The Sound of Music by Rodgers and Hammerstein. It's based on a true story, and you know the plot. And there's two things that are significant. Some trivia about The Sound of Music you should check out. There's a scene earlier in it. What are we going to do with a problem like Maria?
Yeah.
The woman who sings that, she only is in the one part of the movie, is Marnie Nixon, who we mentioned earlier, dubbed Natalie Wood in West Side Story.
Yeah.
She also dubbed Deborah Carr in The King and I, and she also dubbed she also dubbed Audrey Hepburn in My Fair Lady.
Yeah.
So same voice, different actors, different
Yeah.
actresses, but you actually see her
Yeah.
as an actress, and it's
Yeah.
probably the only time you ever really see her, Marnie Nixon singing in
Yeah.
The Sound of Music, and she
Yeah.
sings the one song. The other thing happens at the end of the movie was the famous scene where they're doing the
Yeah.
goodbye,
Yeah.
farewell.
Yeah.
The they says second prize goes, and they give it to this woman, this big woman who just keeps bowing and
yeah,
all.
yeah, yeah.
That is the real Maria von Trapp.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know. That's just a cameo. And she was old, of course. She was, I guess, probably 50, 60 years old at that point when they made the movie. But she was the young woman that Julie Andrews played
Wow.
in the movie. So that was her
I think
cameo.
I've heard something about that.
Yeah, she was Maria von Trapp. The old man that died, von Trapp. I always and because it's weird about the Sound of Music. It has all the gaiety and everything, and the good music, but the the story is very serious, having to do with Nazis and betrayal and patriotism, and should you be patriotic to a corrupt regime like the Nazis and everything? I don't care about my homeland.
Yeah.
And this guy was a decorated, I think, officer, and he and whenever people say, "Well, I wanted to serve my country and all this stuff," I didn't care about the government, what jerks they were, because it's still the fatherland. But in the case of Baron von Trapp, he actually left to go to Switzerland.
Wow.
He said, "I'd rather not serve my country than a country like the Nazis." And now he's this big hero now, because he didn't. He could have been a Nazi or been working for the Nazis like all the rest of them.
Yeah.
He could have just followed orders.
Yeah, his oldest daughter, Liesel, dated a Nazi.
Well, yeah, as it turns out.
I think she didn't know that he was a Nazi at first.
No, he wasn't really a Nazi until the Nazis turned up, and then of course, what did that guy do? He was about to. No, he did worse than that. He blew the whistle on them and told them not, friendship and love and everything be damned. I'm I'm serving the Fuhrer and the Nazis and in a perverse patriotism to their homeland.
Yeah.
So the Sound of Music, and Sound of Music played when it first came out in the 1960s. It played for 2 straight years, every day, at the Willow Lawn Theater. And I wasn't living in Richmond; we were living outside of Richmond, and I was and they. It was almost like a pilgrimage. Every once during those 2 years, everyone from around Richmond went to that theater to see that movie.
My grandma told me he went to see The Sound of Music at the Willow Lawn.
Everyone went.
With my grandmother is, I think, some president or something.
Yeah.
And you want to hear something really funny? What my grandpa told me.
Yeah.
He was like, I remember that time we went to see The Sound of Music at Willow Lawn, and one of your grandmother, you know that scene where Crystal Plummer and Julie Andrews were like in the gazebo?
Yeah.
They were singing that song.
Yeah.
Nothing comes from nothing.
Yeah.
And then silhouette, kind of like a silhouette. And my grandma told me that my grandmother said that Julie Andrews' nose looked like Pinocchio's. And my grandfather did not like that at all.
Julie Andrews, great singer.
Yeah.
Great singer, and
yeah,
doesn't sing so much.
But it was pretty hilarious, though. I just wanted to tell you something funny about that story. So.
Now, your grandfather said that.
Yeah, my grandfather told me that my grandmother, told everybody told our friends and all
Yeah.
their friends that Julie Andrews' news was too big for Pinocchio.
Glad to know he was paying attention to the movie.
Yeah, and then
Don't put him on a blind date with Julie Andrews.
and
It'll
then
be very disappointing.
and then one of the ladies turned around and looked at my grandma really funny because
Yeah.
she was insulted by that.
She have a did she have a Pinocchio nose herself?
No, but well, my grandma told me that she did say that about Julie Andrews.
That's hilarious.
But they were really upset because they liked Julie Andrews and they
As a
didn't want
singer.
her to say anything bad about Julie Andrews.
Oh yeah.
So
Julie Andrews was a was I you know where people got their first glimpse of Julie Andrews when Queen Elizabeth was what's when a king becomes a king or queen?
Your Highness.
No, when they become coronated, I guess. When she was that's what it's called,
Yeah.
coronation in 1953, I think it was.
Yeah.
She was picked out of something like thousands of sopranos to sing at it. And she was
Right.
just a little girl. She was
Right.
about like 16 years old. She was like
Right.
Charlotte Church.
Yes.
And she was such a sensation, Julie Andrews, that she was never not a star after that. And I guess they thought she would go into opera,
Yeah.
like a lot of these singers, these soprano singers, but she went into musical theater and in movies and stuff and became this big star.
I could have danced all night. I could have danced all night.
Yeah.
She sung one of them.
That's
That was
right.
from My Fair Lady.
That's from the original My Fair
Bed,
Lady.
bed. I could have got to bed.
She was yeah, and
It's
Julie
tired.
Andrews, I've never seen her in person. I guess she doesn't really perform so much.
Yeah, I heard that she lost her voice years
Yeah,
ago, and I think
in
she
a in
got.
an operation.
Yeah, I think.
And it she could still act. She was
Yeah.
that's why she doesn't sing in those Princess Diary
Oh
movies
yeah, yeah,
because she doesn't sadly because
yeah. I mean, she lost her voice.
she could have had a
It's kind of
singing
a
voice,
shame, you know.
an old singing voice like Frank Sinatra continued
Yeah,
singing and
yeah.
people like that that still had careers. Placido Domingo. She could
Right.
have continued that, but
She
but
also had a television special many years ago, back in the early '70s.
yeah, well, she had a special with Dick Van Dyke. She had a special with Barry Tyler Moore, and she had
I think she had
Carol
a.
Burnett a special with
Yeah,
her,
I think
and
she had a
she
Christmas
had
special.
and then she had a TV series from England. And I remember watching that show. It was a really good show, and her one of her regulars on there was the
Yeah,
comedian impressionist Rich Little.
yeah.
One of my
I
it was
think
great
she had
seeing.
a Christmas special one time too.
Oh yeah, well they all
I
have
think
Christmas
she
specials.
had an anniversary special.
They
Yeah, who
all
knows?
there's not a performer out there that doesn't have a Christmas special or a Christmas album.
Yeah.
We have a Christmas special. We had it last week.
Yes.
All that singing and dancing we
Yeah, it
did.
was great. I
Yeah.
mean, make sure you tune into that too if you missed it. So.
Yes. Another one of my favorite movies is
Oh my
this is a
gosh, this
Criterion
was a good movie
is
too.
Midnight Cowboy won Best
Yes.
Picture in
It was
1968.
kind of sad at the end though.
Well, the good films usually are.
Yeah.
And this film was different in every way. It's based on a book that they claim nobody ever read, and but people have read it as a result of the movie. The movie was so good. It was like John Voight's first
Yes.
major role.
Yes.
It was only Dustin Hoffman's second major. The first one
Oh
he did was The
wow.
Graduate. They said, of all the movies, why are you picking this one where you're not even the star? You don't even come in till about 45 minutes into the movie of a 2 hour movie, and then he takes over from there and they're both played two homeless guys in
Everybody's talking at me.
yeah.
Yeah.
Guy goes to New York from
Yeah.
Texas thinking he's going to be the next big thing, and
Yeah.
he winds up homeless
Yeah.
and people still talk about this movie and a lot of the extras in the movie. Oh, I got two things to tell you about this movie, The
And,
Night Cowboy. Well, go ahead.
and Dustin Hoffman plays a sick guy.
Well, yeah. Well, they're both. He has like TB or something.
Yeah.
It's sort of, in some ways,
Tuberculosis.
it's sort of like an old-fashioned movie, except for the all the sex and violence in it. It
Yeah.
was rated X in its day,
Yeah.
but it really didn't. It got an R. But it's still it's still a serious movie. One Best Picture of the Year. It came out, and what happened was the film was done on the cheap so except for Dustin Hoffman being a big star, they filmed it right on the streets of New York
Mhm.
without permits. I mean, there were scenes,
Wow.
discussion scenes, but anytime you see them like walking in traffic, the most famous one where I'm walking here and the car almost hits him. The car that almost hit him because
Uh-huh.
they didn't know they were being
Wow.
they were just
Wow.
there, So they filmed like with hidden cameras and boxes and stuff, and they said
Wow.
the director would say, just walk across the street and pretend to be talking. We'll dub it over. That type of.
Yes.
There's all this like atmosphere in this movie. The other
Yeah.
thing about this movie was, a lot of the extras near the end of the movie at the big party scene are um, are from the Andy Warhol
Oh.
factory.
Yeah.
And so Viva and people like that, Joe D'Alessandro, people like that, and they, I think they're, or people like that. You might, your Andy Warhol.
Mhm.
So it there's a lot of scenes that have sort of a real 1960s pop
Yeah.
culture look.
Yeah. They.
That's a talk about your time capsules. This is a real time capsule of the late 1960s in New
Yes.
York. Yeah.
They have a scene where was like really colorful, people like dancing
Yeah, that's the
and
scene.
partying and all that.
Yeah.
And there was a lady that played in it in that scene. She played on the Golden Girls. She
Brenda
played.
Vaccaro.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Brenda Vaccaro.
She
Yeah,
played
that's like her first
Dorothy.
major
She
film.
played Dorothy's brother's wife.
Yeah.
You know, if
Yeah.
you look closely, she's
Yeah.
on there.
Yeah. Fine
So
actress.
be sure to take a look at that if you
Yeah.
ever watch this movie.
Yeah. No, don't let kids around when you're watching this
Yeah,
because it's a very
kids are not.
serious movie.
Do not let kids. I encourage you not to let your kids watch this.
Although,
It's even though it's a good movie, but kids under 18
okay,
or under 20. Actually, I encourage kids under 21 do not watch this.
I would. No one over 65 should watch this. No, no. Let me
Well, that's
let me tell you
okay.
something.
Yeah.
Okay, I saw this movie when I was about 18 or so.
Yeah.
But I saw it on television, an expurgated version of
Yeah.
it, and what happened was, even though everything was kind of taken out of
Mm-hmm.
it, I could follow it all right. But let me tell you something. You said don't let your kids watch this movie,
Mm-hmm.
and I say this all the time. When my parents or anyone told me not to see something or read a book I shouldn't be reading or see a,
Don't look. Don't
no,
look.
no, that I said, who the heck are they to tell me what I can and cannot see? I am going to see it, and actually it's sort of a crusade. I couldn't wait to see this movie. This is
Yeah.
before videotape, and I had to wait for it to come to I
Right.
think in college it came to the college cinema when they showed all the classic movies and stuff. So I said, yeah, I'm going to see this movie, even though I had seen it on television. I wanted to see it in its
Yeah.
uncensored way, and this is a Criterion. You see that C on there, that means it's Criterion, and that means it's the best version of this DVD possible. So
Yeah.
anyway, I just bought these. That's why they're still wrapped up.
I watched the first time I watched that movie. I was in my 20s.
There you go.
I was like in my mid 20s,
Yeah,
so I was
I
old
tr-
enough to watch it anyway.
I tried to see. I mean, we talk a lot about show business and everything. I I I try to see everything I can in of classic
Yeah,
cinema, classic music,
yeah, me
classic
too. Y'all could probably tell
theater, of course.
that we're both into show business.
Well, that's well, actually, that's what your culture is.
Yes.
I mean, you ever notice like in science fiction movies, they're talking about science fiction, they have no culture. You don't see them. You don't see space aliens watching a show
Right.
or laughing at comedy or anything. They're all like robots. Where do I go now? What do I eat and everything? And I'm afraid we're getting to that point. Certain countries, their cultures are almost that way. The totalitarian dictatorships,
Yeah.
or they would love for the people to be like that. And then we're talking about the Nazis. Do you think their idea of culture was to get rid of it all?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
there was. I remember Robin Williams had a joke. He went to Germany and he started telling jokes, and the people started laughing. And he said, he goes, how come we don't have people like that in Germany telling jokes? And he goes,
Right.
I think you got rid of them all.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there
Yeah.
you go. But anyway, it was a pleasure spending the last show of 2021 with you.
Yes.
Are we going to do shows in 2022?
Of course.
That's what I like to
Yes,
hear.
of
All right. Let's
Yeah.
keep up the good work.
Yes. Well.
Keep up your good work. And
Yes.
thanks for having me here, and thanks for the
Absolutely.
wonderful year together doing these shows, Mary Elizabeth. Thank you.
Yes, it was good to have you all watching. Thank you all for tuning in, and I hope you all have a happy 2022. God bless you all.